The last time on this segment, we talked about ex-Twitter employees in Ghana getting a settlement. Well, earlier in the week, I spoke to a lawyer for the ex-Twitter employees in Ghana about some of the issues we discussed to do with our redundancy laws. Here's Carla Olympio, her take on that.
Unfortunately, even though the provisions are very clear and they're quite well thought out, there is no enforcement attached to it. And I think if there was, it would give it more teeth. So, right now, employees can, go under it and say, look, this needs to be enforced. But, if an employer does not do so, ultimately, perhaps what you could do is then file a complaint with the National Labour Commission, or you could take it to court, if a company is very recalcitrant, because the Labour Department under that particular section does not have enforcement powers. So I think enforcement powers, for example, setting out a regime of fines would be a good thing. There's been a couple of litigations on the continent so far regarding organizations like Uber, right? So I think there's one in Kenya, there's been one in South Africa. And sometimes, the ability to enforce or not your rights is a problem because sometimes they don't have an entity in the country, right? So you have to think about, what entity you're actually signing with. Will you be able to enforce any rules against them if they do not do the right thing by you?
It's about a regime of fines to be enforced, and she's talked a bit about remote work, where some foreign entities seem to get away with breaches because they do not have a presence in a country where they operate in. How problematic is that?
And huge problems. These are some of the fundamental issues I actually mentioned earlier. I mean, you can't stop people from trying to look out for jobs. I mean, the very current unemployment rate report relatively had shot up when it comes out to unemployment. And so people are looking at ways where they can exploit and use their skills. And so there are quite a number of people that are looking at remote jobs. It would interest you to know that when we're implementing taxes on some of these platforms, it's so quick, but the policies that guide the people, the policy that helps to keep the employers who are all sitting on these platforms are really not there. And even if they are not enforced. And that becomes a huge problem for quite a lot of people that really want to explore when it comes down to this innovative environment. I think generally that we sort of need that enforcement to come in when it comes down to our labor laws. And there should be that innovation that should be cited in these laws as according to the very new trends of jobs that are available. There are quite a number of people that are making millions. I've cited a lot of influencers talking about how much they're making on influencer platforms. And I think that the only thing that really hits us is how can we tax them? What are we getting for the government? But they're not looking at how we can improve the skills of some of these people. What are the protections that are on for them and for them to get out there? And I think that becomes a conversation that the industry people and the sector should be engaging in. And the policymakers should also be looking at how they could get most of these policies in place and enforced.
All right.
I think that's a great point of conversation for us to start with.
Thank you, as always, Henry Kobler, lead for Eyes of Africa. Appreciate your insights, as always.